So crisp.
I know, right?
All
right, we're good to go.
All right. Thank you all. Very much appreciate it. So I'm going to call this meeting, this special meeting of the Cities Advisory Committee to order. Today being September 18th. Good. So with that, we're going to do a roll call by agency name. Erica.
Carlsbad is absent. Chula Vista
Present.
Del Mar.
Here.
El Cajon is absent. Encinitas,
Present.
Imperial Beach,
Here.
La Mesa,
Present.
Lemon Grove,
Here.
National City is absent. Oceanside is absent. Sorry. Poway is absent. San Diego is absent. San Marcos is absent. Santee,
Present.
Solana Beach,
Here.
John Conley, sorry, Vista. Sorry. And
Wow.
I don't know if I called Coronado or Escondido, but they are absent and we have a quorum with 9 cities present.
Awesome. And we will ask the aforementioned Mr. Connolly to lead us in the pledge. Please stand. Yeah, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States. Power which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, sir. So, agenda review. So the agenda that got sent out early Monday morning is held. So we don't have any changes to the agenda itself. We have a handful of consent items that I'll mention briefly when the time comes, but we have 3 main business items. We've padded the schedule a little bit. Typically we do 60 minutes, but today we've got a buffer to 11:30, but we will certainly hold that. So what I would suggest, just in case, is we will move committee member reports to the back end just so we can get on with the business at hand. So with that, I will go to the consent items. You have 4 meeting minutes, which of course, even if you weren't here, by way of your agency's participation on the committee, you can certainly still take action on the recommendation. We have a progress report on our work plan for the fiscal year. We have an update on our study schedule itself, which we anticipate going to the commission for formal updating, which essentially just changed the dates to reflect the new fiscal year at our meeting come October. And then we also provide just a discussion on some legislative items of interest to LAFCO. So any questions on the consent calendar? Seeing none, would someone be kind enough to make a motion?
Alyssa Mudo, Solana Beach, make a motion.
I'll second. Wonderful. So we have Solana Beach and Del Mar. A motion and a second to approve the recommendations, which in this case means adopting the minutes. I think we can go ahead and just simply do a call. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Awesome. That carries unanimously. So that brings us to the first of 3 business items. So we're going to hear a staff presentation from analyst Mikhail Peters on our SALT program, and perhaps also Megan Trainer. So take away, Michaela. Take it away. Megan, I apologize.
Good morning, committee members, analyst 1, Megan Trainer, for the record on behalf of staff. And the item before you today is an update on San Diego LAFCO's Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Grant, which is being carried out in conjunction with the County of San Diego Planning and Development Services Department. And the Sustainable Agricultural Lands Conservation Program was created in 2014 as part of a component of the California Strategic Growth Council and is administered by the California Department of Conservation. And the SALT program uses cap and trade funds to to fund primarily the securement of conservation easements on agricultural land at high risk of development, as well as planning grants to help improve regional responses to the high loss of agriculture in the state. And from 2021 to 2023, San Diego LAFCO carried out its first SALT grant, along with the RCD of Greater San Diego County, to identify, monitor, and assess the ownership of active agricultural lands in the county. And this led to creating 10 policy recommendations after an extensive research on the state of agriculture and outreach with stakeholders. And one of these recommendations concluded the need to inform small farming opportunities through an analysis of costs and benefits of small farms, which led San Diego LAFCO to apply and secure a grant with the County of San Diego Planning and Development Services Department for a second SALT grant, which has been carried out since 2023. And there are 6 tasks as part of this grant, and we've currently finished 2 deliverables with the market analysis, task 2, and task 3, the gap analysis. The market analysis report, we collaborated with our consultant, Agricultural Impact Associates, experts on agricultural economics based in Monterey, and they analyzed the major operating expenses and levels of profitability of San Diego County farms with a focus on farms of 10 acres or less. And this report really helped us to transform generalizations about the state of farming into specific knowledge to be used for policymakers. So one common saying might be San Diego County agriculture faces serious challenges. But this report has enabled us to learn that we're actually losing an average of 18 acres of farmland every day and 1 farm every 3.5 days. And San Diego County farms had an average operating profit margin of about 13% in 2022, which is roughly half the 25% threshold that experts are recommending for financial health. Task 3 led us to conduct a gap analysis to analyze the operating expenses and profitability related to 4 specific crops, so avocados, lemons, strawberries, and tomatoes. So we were calculating, given the operating costs, labor, machinery, and water costs, what would be prices per pound that would be required to break even on the operating costs or bring in a profit. And this led us to developing an agricultural profitability assessment tool, which can be used to calculate the profitability of both an individual farm as well as the profitability of our farms on a countywide basis. So the findings of the gap market and gap analysis, as well as conducting 3 outreach events to stakeholders, including nonprofits, producers, as well as local municipalities, led us to begin to conduct a strategic plan in order to generate recommendations for how local municipalities in particular can work to implement programs to assist agricultural producers in the region. And we didn't just want to speak in generalizations. PDS at the county and LAFCO wanted to think of how we can individually contribute within our agencies to conserving agriculture. So one of these recommendations is an integration of an agricultural analysis into our municipal service reviews at LAFCO. So working to analyze what are the economic contributions of agriculture within the agency's boundaries, including vendors and agro-tourism. And this also included mapping agricultural acreage within jurisdictions, which is also germane to our responsibility to conserve agricultural land at high risk of development, prime agricultural land, and considering urban agriculture as well. Also reviewing jurisdictional policies that cities or special districts are employing to support agricultural producers, such as water conservation, recycled water, crop swap programs, and climate smart practices. And also reviewing cities' general plans and specific plans for relevant land use policies that relate to agriculture, such as the promotion of farm worker housing. And lastly, we are also considering supporting the establishment of a regional working group focused on promoting affordable access to water for farmers. So we're presenting these 2 items to you today to ask for feedback on, considering that we'll be doing municipal service reviews moving forward on your agencies. Your thoughts on this type of analysis being included, in light of we will be considering, how much ag acres are within your jurisdictions relative to other ones, as well as your thoughts on the creation of a regional working group focused on water, which we're envisioning potentially being housed in collaboration with the Farm Bureau, hoping that producers have a seat at the table. The County Water Authority has expressed that they will have a seat at the table as well to want to mostly explain the programs that they have in place to support ag. So we're just looking for any feedback that any of you might have. Yeah, this concludes our presentation. Thank you.
So thank you, Megan. And again, it's just to go a little further. So certainly the paradigm has shifted. So when many of us started our careers in local government, the idea was cities do urban things and agriculture, farming happens out in the unincorporated areas. Certainly at some point over the last 10 years, there's been this transition to start thinking about cities as, if not allies, but actual participants in small farming, urban farming, and certainly the advancement of rootless agriculture, right? So many of us think of ag, with roots in the ground, but that's of course not always the case. And certainly here in San Diego, you have a lot of flower beds, other things that don't necessarily need the traditional irrigation and soil. And so the question for all of you as part of SALT is, what say you with respect to your city's interest in engaging the topic of ag, small farming, and specifically not just how your boundaries do or do not relate to the surrounding unincorporated areas, but your own incorporated boundaries? What opportunities do you have to support agriculture and perhaps urban farming, and how LAFCO can kind of bring you into this table that Megan and Michaela are creating? So any thoughts, observations? Do any of your jurisdictions already have rather clear direction from the policymakers about where your city stands with urban farming and compatibility with farming?
I just have a quick question. Could you define urban farming? Is it like community gardens? Is it somebody that has a farm in front of their house to feed their family? Or is it something that's a little bit more to market? Like,
We would be considering all of those aspects, efforts to support local food systems. So all of those we would be considering. We want to recognize that there's not a lot, maybe some cities don't have many ag acres, but maybe they do or don't have programs going on to support urban agriculture. That respect.
What? Sorry, and then Tyler, and then John.
Yeah, I just have a question about when you mentioned that 18 acres per day of ag land is being lost in San Diego. What is the definition of loss? Is it land use changes, property transfer, development? Like what triggers that? Now it's lost.
Yeah, that it would be no longer working agriculture lands, that it's being converted. So I would assume that, potentially development or zoning changes.
Something that the assessor does for their own benefit, they assign codes based on, even if there's not a change of land, but there's some kind of permit or use. And so it's presumably tied a lot to what that assessor's now taking property X and assigned it to a non-ag use.
I guess if you're going to go through each city and potentially discuss the opportunities of ag land, it'd be good to know what has officially been removed from that city from ag land, how much percentage over the years. Just like I would, it doesn't happen in Vero Beach that we don't have that, but it would be good to know. I think for other municipalities, like I didn't even know that we were losing that much land daily. It's kind of surprising.
Sure.
So it'd be nice, excuse me, to distinguish between preserving ag land that's existing that you want to maintain or creating new opportunities for agriculture, because I think there's kind of a distinguishing factor there. A lot of land use policies that are set up for preserving ag create conflicts between the cities and the farmers when they want to develop their land, they use it for something different. And so that doesn't seem to be a good model to me. It seems like it's more of an economic problem. So looking at how we can economically support those uses seems to be a better option than trying to create land use policies that are going to protect what's in place if the owners aren't willing to participate.
Yeah, one of the recommendations of the court was to look at some of the land use policies in place and to see how they could be revised. And I think that maybe a more progressive approach in that way of kind of seeing what a farmer's asking for in terms of allowed development on their land would make a lot of sense.
Historically in Solana Beach, we did have quite a bit of small property, local farming that was for commercial purposes. That really doesn't exist in Solana Beach. I was looking at your map. I could have zoomed in, I would have. I think there is a big differentiator though between commercial farming, going back to Lydia's question, and the economics of it, and where I think LAFCO's role is really important as the regional versus private farming for your family or for shared exchange, or urban agriculture such as peas or chickens. While it seems like it would be appropriate to give a head nod, that's really a very localized policy. And my recommendation would be to really stick to the economics of those smaller farms and how to support that versus really getting in deep on those local city practices that are really vetted out through the communities.
Okay, yeah, thank you. That's really helpful. Yeah, we were thinking it would be more of a high level analysis of these policies in place to, yeah, giving a nod to any, beekeeping or, keeping livestock.
So any other, topic?
Yeah, I just think those are good points, because once you start to get to granular, it starts to touch the housing element or, all kinds of things. So yeah, just having it from that approach Alyssa mentioned would be very beneficial.
Great, thank you.
So, we have some feedback.
So I have one more comment.
Yep.
The crops types that you looked at all seem to be like water intensive type crops. Are there different types of uses that we could be considering long term that are going to require the amount of irrigation? Because that's really long term. I think the bigger issue is water's getting more expensive and most farmers can't afford to water their crops. So is that part of it, or are you?
Yeah, the existing county crop swap program, for example, which will kind of provide incentives to switch to less water intensive crops. It's in place, but we're mostly examining how to make it more accessible and to make it so people are benefiting from the program.
Very good. Water districts would be great to find out if they're on board with that.
Yeah.
Indeed. So, while all of you digest this item, I'm sure some of you will go back to your city halls and think about, the role that your city may or may not have going forward in wanting to kind of, as Megan mentioned, either be attentive or participate more with what is this high-level review of opportunities to facilitate and correctly pointed out, offer up some help to small farmers with the economics in mind. And if there are things that come to you over the next few weeks that you want to share with us and just want a dialogue, I'm sure Megan and Michaela would love to hear from you. It's always good to have one's own food source. This pandemic, you never know.
Thank you.
I was hoping for more reactions to the pandemic. Other than John, you guys are bulletproof. You don't worry about these things. So, all right. So, thank you, Megan. We're going to go to our next item, which is a discussion. Megan will start us off. You may recall we started an inquiry into regional government and all that, LAFCO being one of them. We kind of wanted to go a little further into the world of Sandag. So Megan's going to give us an update, and I know we have Bill Fulton in attendance as well.
Thank you. Yeah, Megan Trainer, Analyst 1 for the record. The item before you is an update on San Diego LAFCO's Municipal Service Review on the San Diego Association of Governments. And this report ties back to an earlier report completed by consultant Bill Fulton in 2024, the contours of regional growth, examining how different agencies shape transportation patterns in the San Diego region. And this led us to recommend conducting a municipal service review on Sandag, which is our authority in doing so derived from the Cortese-Knox-Hertzberg Act on MSRs and special studies. So it's a bit of a blended model. And we believe that this MSR has definitely been helpful, given that we have our own policy that we seek to consider Sandag's growth forecasts in our own planning, and Sandag is also directed to consider LAFCO spheres of influence in their sustainable community strategies. So it's been a great opportunity to familiarize ourselves with each other. And now I'll turn to Bill for an update on how the MSR is progressing.
Thank you, Megan, and good morning, everybody. I'm Bill Fulton. I'm a consultant to the LAFCO on this project. Just a little bit of an update. You know a lot of this. Sandag performs a lot of functions in this region. It is the Council of Governments, originally created through a Joint Powers Authority. It is the MPO. It is the state designated regional transportation planning agency. It administers the Transnet funds, and unusual for a metropolitan planning organization, it designs and constructs. It's the design and construction lead for all regional transportation projects. I've done a lot of work with and for MPOs around the country and around California, and I would say it's fair to say that Sandag has an unusually broad range of responsibilities. And of course, of the large MPOs in California, it is the only one that is a single county MPO. And so therefore its boundaries coincide with the county and also with the LAFCO. In consultation with the staff, we looked at this unusually wide range of regional functions. A lot of this was created originally, for those of you who've been around a long time, by a bill sponsored by then Senator Peace back in the early 2000s. That consolidated a lot of regional planning and transportation functions under Sandag. LAFCO's MSR focuses on three functions: transportation, housing, and climate adaptation. I'm sure you all know that Sandag has been through a lot in the last 2 years and has had a new leadership as of last year. So one of the things that we are doing is just sort of, and by the way, as well as you may know, the draft 2025 regional plan was released in May. So given the agency's unique set of responsibilities, among other things, the MSR will track progress of the Transnet projects. Again, for those of you who've been around for a long time, you'll recall that when the Transnet extension ordinance was adopted in 2004, stretching from 2008 to 2048, there were 27 specific capital projects, 16 highway projects, and 11 transit projects that were delineated in that ordinance. The relationship with Sandag through this process has been pretty good. They provided us with a lot of valuable information. We've met with them 9 times during this process so far, and we expect a complete draft report expected for spring of 2026. As I said, it's a little difficult to track Sandag because if you know anything about how performance evaluation works, and I'm sure all of you are familiar with that, there's outputs and there's outcomes, right? Adopting a regional plan is an output. Increasing housing production, improving transportation, those are outcomes, which are not entirely within Sandag's control. So it's a little bit tricky, but we're looking at project delivery. We're also trying to look at the regional impact on topics such as VMT and congestion relief. And I would especially suggest, for those of you who have it in front of you, take a look at attachment 1 for this item. That is actually the draft of the outline of what the MSR is going to look like. A lot of it is background explaining what Sandag does. what the history of MPOs are, a lot of the history of the greenhouse gas emissions law, and then at the bottom of the second page, you'll see we look at outputs, like for example, on the capital projects, what's been constructed, what's not been, and then outcomes. What are the actual transportation outcomes that are emerging? As I say, some things are completely within Sandag's control. You all are familiar with the famous RENA. Sandag works with you to accomplish the RENA that did get done, and actually, even according to Sandag's data, I know this seems counterintuitive, but progress toward the RENA goal in the region since the last RENA was adopted is actually pretty good. At the same time, there's a lot of things that are outside of Sandag's control. Sandag relies not only on Transnet funds, but on state and federal funds to complete both transit and highway projects. So it's somewhat dependent on the availability of state and federal funds. And at the same time, if you consider one of the metrics that they use or have to use, particularly in a report to the feds, is what they call the non-single occupancy vehicle commute percentage. And the target goal is about, this is everybody who goes to work and doesn't drive in a car by themselves. The goal is about 35%. The current status is about 25%. But of course, Sandag, although it does control the transit funds, does not operate the transit system. That's operated by MTS and NCTD. So we're kind of balancing Sandag's success in outputs, as well as the indirect role Sandag's plays in regional planning and transportation outcomes. So with that, I'll turn it back to Megan and Keen if you have anything to add about where we're going forward. We're pretty close to an administrative draft. And of course, we will share the administrative draft with Sandag and go back and forth with them a lot. Anything further you wanted to add, Keen?
No, thank you, Bill. So with respect to staff and Bill getting an administrative draft closer to the front of the queue, one of the questions that we wanted to ask that all of you consider is your appetite perhaps to form a subcommittee of the advisory committee to work with LAFCO in kind of the next phase, which is developing, making sense of the data in the form of the required determinations that statute has us address when we do these type of projects. So a question to the committee: do you have interest in this body kind of evolving to be project specific in your deliberations and offerings? And if so, would there be members here willing to participate? So first question, because this committee, to my understanding, has yet to create a subcommittee of any form. So the question is, do you see that as I do? But I'm, of course, not a member of the committee, an appropriate evolution of what this body can offer LAFCO on behalf of the 18 cities? So that's question one, because this topic will come up, of course, in the next agenda item too. And I just feel like Lydia has something to say here. So, okay. Yes, no, the idea of just this body taking that approach and working more closely with LAFCO through a subcommittee process. I see affirmative head nods. Thank you, Linda.
So yes, I think that might be appropriate for some appointments committee to start breaking off in small groups to chunk it off, especially since that this topic and the next topic does really have an effect on our overall governance. I think it's best for us to know what's going on. I did serve as a subcommittee as a rep for the water detachment, and it was a really learning process, and it was really good to be part of that subcommittee to kind of understand water politics and water policy in the region. So I support a subcommittee, and I would volunteer to be on the same.
Thank you. We have one volunteer. We've got at least two over here.
I have a question.
Oh, I took that as a volunteer. Thank you, Jim.
He volunteered to ask a question.
Yeah, that's right, that's right. No, but what are the general size of the subcommittees? What is the time frame? You know, what are the expectations? Is there collaboration with Sandag? Or just some more details on.
So from my perspective, this is kind of the template to go forward. Lydia's example was unique in that it was a commission-created working group for these detachment proposals. This is a advisory committee subcommittee. So certainly, I would suggest as your moderator that you'd want to keep it to 5 or under, just for the benefit of being able to hold meetings, to meet with Bill and to Megan and others. In the first meeting, I think you would be able to kind of sketch out your particular goals, allowing LAFCO perhaps the benefit of offering some wisdom where we think some guidance is appropriate. But selfishly, from my perspective, having the city's advisory committee have a more, I don't know if hands-on is the right term, but a more direct involvement in whatever the recommendations and inclusions are. If nothing else, it helps us vet topics before we commit pen to paper from all of your unique perspectives. So not a great answer, Tyler, but an answer that I see we're going to kind of figure this out Potter Stewart-like as we go along. So I know Jennifer and Lydia are down. Lynette, thank you. So we've got 1, 2, 3, Tyler. Sure. 4, and yeah.
Some questions. I think it's a good idea. I was interested to see that come up on the agenda for both of the items, this item, the following item. When I think about the Sandag MSR, and I think I mentioned this in a previous meeting, one of the areas that it provides a municipal service, for which LAFCO does municipal service review, is data governance. I didn't hear a lot about that in your overview. Maybe you didn't get very deep, but that to me is really the focal point of everything else that Sandag does, and data governance, from how they hold it, how they use it, to how they share it. The sharing piece is the piece that I know we're much challenged with, of just trying to get back, and I'm going to look to Delmar as well. We've had questions about the assumptions used in RENA. We've had questions about the assumptions used in the RTP. We can benefit from the shared data around climate. So if you go back to those 3 fundamental topics, that's where I really see as a city that if I were to volunteer for the subcommittee, that's something that is a goal for me as a city manager to really see as an outcome of the study. The other things, how management works, I feel like there are audits being done at Sandag left and right about all the other operational things that you're looking at. But what I don't see the focus on is how cities can better use data collectively with Sandag. And so I'd like to be on the committee if there's room to really hone in on this issue and make some real great, thoughtful recommendations to make data transparency and sharing much better on the backside.
Yeah, I think you brought that up before, and I think you and I were supposed to talk about it. But that has not been I understand the point that it underlies all these 3 things. I think that's a conversation worth having with the committee to see if there's any further work that should be done. And if you want to revive our attempt to have a meeting about it, I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, because I look at this and from the topics that I'm looking at your outline right now, for those of you who can't, and it's on page 43, 44. With, it's interesting to find out where they are with transient capital projects. I think that's very interesting. That's great transparency. Again, did the audit committee or some other independent reviewer do some work around that? Did they?
The ITOC does some of that, but what we found is that there's a lot of data about Sandag's performance, which is kind of scattered all over the place and not easily findable or digestible. So one of the things we want to do is put a lot of this stuff in one place. As I say, the ITAC, which is the committee that oversees Transnet, it does a very good job actually in their triennial report on some of this stuff.
And then I look at, and I'm sorry, just to kind of keep my drum and get on the soapbox here, but is when I look at the transportation outcomes or the arena outcomes, the inputs are where we have an issue.
And that goes back to the data.
Yes, and
Okay.
so I guess that's where I keep going back to, we have a more fundamental issue here as a region and as cities. You don't even get to the other parts of the conversation.
That would be a good topic for us to have with the emerging committee here.
So I think you're seeing us open to it, and let's vet it with then the other 4 members of the subcommittee, see where it goes. So
And I would look to my peers to see if that's a
Yeah.
similar feeling.
Yeah, I wanted to, Jennifer and Sanitas, I wanted to kind of echo exactly what like Alyssa said, because whatever an outcome or when you have the data and what you end up with, you have to make sure that the data going in is correct. I mean, I think we've all seen it where you participate in, whether it's an MSR or we participate with SANDAG and they get information from cities. A lot of times what happens if it's wrong information goes into a report, it's not right, the outcomes then are skewed. So it's super important to make sure that whatever information, comes out of when you're talking about Transnet or RENA or even population numbers that, where did you get it? Who did it come from? Who did you kind of check it against to make sure that's right? Because then it goes out there, and then of course you've got information now that's disseminated, whether it's to our council members or residents, and everyone's like questioning it, and it doesn't look like it's right. So I think it's super important to make sure that whatever information that goes into any type of data collection, that we know where it was sourced from, and that we know that it is correct. And of course, there are always little tweaks here and there, and depending on who you talk to, but it is super important because it really does affect the outcomes. And because we're all working together, SANDAG is a regional organization, it affects all of us. And it's important because the decision that board is making and things like that needs to be based on factual information. So I do agree. And if, Melissa, you're on that committee too, and I'm sure that we would love to look at that as well.
So awesome. Tyler, did you have another comment?
No, I think all those comments are fine. I think they all make sense. The reason I mentioned it'd be good to know what type of collaboration there could be with SANDAG is understanding their pinch points and what are they supposed to be delivering, because then that will better inform us of what we should be asking for. So it's collaboration.
Very good.
Just asking for county balance. We don't have any North County reps aside from Vista here, so we're losing Oceanside. I mean, I know you guys are North County coastal, but North County of Oceanside, Vista, San Marcos, Escondido, and maybe you can make an outreach.
Okay.
Unless I'm not going to volunteer, I'll don't have to do anything. But maybe see if some of those other entities want to participate on the subcommittee. So there's balance in the county. So the voices are balanced.
Absolutely. Good idea. So thank you so much.
Just going back to Tyler's question, I didn't hear an answer. Will the subcommittee get a chance to also meet with SANDAG directly to hear from them directly about the pinch points, or where?
I certainly would expect that you would hear from SANDAG as part of the process of developing some thoughts about statements or areas. So I think the interest is that you would want to hear from them maybe a little sooner. So Bill, Megan, and Patrick in the back, we can coordinate kind of the next steps. And one of the reasons the subcommittee, and this kind of applies to the next item, is, we only meet every 6 months. So ideally getting this committee up and going is going to give us enough time to really get a flavor for how the cities view what Bill and staff has been working on, and how you digest it from your perspective. So thank you. I think we will take a formal motion to form a subcommittee and then appoint representatives Solana Beach, Imperial, Encinitas, Santee, and Lemon Grove. If Clem, you'd be nice enough to say I motion that.
Make that motion.
Awesome. We get a second from someone.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. All right, so we are moving along. We've got 40 minutes or so left, so I think we're doing quite well and might even finish a little early. So I'm going to ask Priscilla to highlight the next item. And again, keep in mind that we're also going to be asking you for interest in creating a subcommittee on this as well.
Thank you, Keen. Yes, good morning, committee members. For the record, Assistant Executive Officer Priscilla Monpower on behalf of staff. So today I'll be providing an overview on our municipal service review on the 2 wholesale water agencies serving the San Diego County region. And those, of course, being San Diego County Water Authority and the Metropolitan Water District of Southern California. I'll share some progress to date, as well as share a few of the emerging themes and outline opportunities for committee feedback. But before I do, I'd like to begin with a little bit of background. So as you may already know, the MSR was added to the adopted work plan in July of 2023. And this was following approval of the 2 reorganization proposals that were discussed just a moment ago, and that involving Ballbrook Public Utility District and Rainbow Municipal Water District, seeking to detach from the San Diego County Water Authority and into Eastern Municipal Water District in Riverside County. While originally a medium priority project, the commission did decide to elevate it to the top of the work plan in August of 2023, making it work plan item 1A. And this was in response to some concerns regarding the County Water Authority service model and governance model. Following this direction, staff went ahead and retained Dr. Michael Hanneman to conduct the wholesale water service performance analysis using a 15-year reporting period. And for those unfamiliar with Dr. Hanneman, he is a professor out of Arizona State University, and he did assist us in the analysis that was performed as part of the reorganization proposals as well. We've also formed a working group of 11 agencies that you may already be familiar with, and both include City of San Diego and the County Water Authority. Our former consultant, Chris Kate, assisted us in forming that committee and getting them ramped up. Admittedly, we haven't met in some time, but we will be meeting with them soon, as you'll hear in just a second. At this point, all necessary data requests have been completed. And in July of this year, Dr. Hanneman has provided to us his draft reports, which includes a comprehensive review of the County Water Authority, and then a more proportional review of METS, so just the portion that overlaps the San Diego County region. So from this work, and with a focus on the County Water Authority, several emerging themes have surfaced, and so I'll highlight a few that I have up on the screen. And beginning with water supply and demand. So the County Water Authority currently supplies about 80% of the regional water via imports through the Colorado River transfers and Carlsbad desalination. They have made considerable efforts and investments in diversifying their portfolio, which has improved supply resiliency. However, there has been a decline in demand despite population growth, and this has created excess treatment capacity as well as operational costs. And with respect to long-term planning with these factors in mind, water deliveries are expected to continue to drop, and by specifically 30% by 2030. Potable reuse projects in the county are expected to also reduce imported water by 115,000 acre feet by 2035. So with respect to these financial trends, and in particular water sales, as we see the demand declining, the County Water Authority experienced a 30% decline in sales in 2023, which resulted in a $74 million revenue shortfall, which is the lowest since 1983. As a result, rates have increased sharply between 2008 and 2023, with untreated rates rising from $520 an acre foot to nearly $1,600, and treated rates going from $684 to about $1,900 an acre foot. So the situation continues to be challenging, especially in light of some structural imbalances that we've taken note of. Specifically, Fixed costs at the County Water Authority are roughly 87% of their budget, while 28.5% are their fixed revenues. And so this has resulted in them needing to use their rate stabilization fund, which has reduced reserves near minimum policy threshold, which is about 150 days. Dr. Hanneman notes in one of his reports that he does see a silver lining with the Met settlement that has occurred recently, providing new financial flexibility through inflation-linked charges and resale of conserved water. Lastly, and with respect to their governance structure, which is a hot topic, the board voting at the County Water Authority is based on historical contributions since their formation. And so with declining purchases, it has skewed some influence. This is particularly a topic given that the city of San Diego currently holds approximately 42% of the voting power. And with their pure water project coming online, it does raise some concerns. Looking ahead and in terms of next steps, and with Dr. Hanneman's analysis complete, staff is drafting the remaining sections of the MSR. There's 8 sections in total. He has completed section 6 for us. We're also preparing an executive summary, which will provide some recommendations and determinative statements as required under statute. A first administrative draft is anticipated to be shared with the agencies in October, which will initiate an agency-specific timeline of 60 days to review and then to comment. And then after this agency review, we do anticipate doing some targeted outreach, which will include presentations to this committee, the Special Districts Committee, and then most likely and perhaps a subcommittee that you may consider forming before we then take it to our commission, which we anticipate as early as March of 2026. So with that, I'll end on a quick note that we, as you may know, our LAFCO consultant, Chris Kate, has gone off and is now the CEO of the Regional Chamber of Commerce. So we have hired on and brought on Patrick Teller, who is in the audience today. And so I'll give him a second to introduce himself in just a moment before then we turn it over to Keith.
Hi, Patrick Teller. I know I've worked with a few of you in different capacities over the years. Really happy to be working with LAFCO. We're excited about all the work we're doing and look forward to working with all of you.
Awesome. Thank you both. So Priscilla mentioned we had this working group helping LAFCO staff over the last year plus go through the data that we then kind of filter and then send over to Professor Hanneman. And so Professor Hanneman has digested that and has produced a report for our internal use right now. So the question is, as we start transitioning from the technical aspect to policy questions, and that would be the suggestion for this city's advisory subcommittee, should you appoint one, is that we would look to get some feedback and thoughts and ultimately some recommendations on the policy aspects of the water authority relative to the MSR's task, and to a different degree, the relationship with Met. And I'll say this, this study, and Priscilla may have mentioned this certainly before, maybe even earlier today, was prioritized by the commission because of the experience of the commission when Lydia and others were helping us go through this detachment proposal up in North County. And the conclusion at that time was, well, not only did it make sense and fairness to allow these 2 water districts to go on their own after setting an exit fee, which we both thought and believed to be appropriate. But the other comment was, there's this flaw that I think we all see in the water authority's business model. At the time, we were getting a lot of pushback from the water authority. One of the benefits of time is they have a new general manager, new leadership who have done a lot of good things in acknowledging that elephant in the room. This all, though, to say, I believe LAFCO owes it to the commission and to the public to offer up our thoughts on, well, what would an alternative structure of delivering wholesale water to San Diego look like? How would those alternatives at a broad but meaningful level, what would be the pros and cons of it? I would like the subcommittee to help us in that exercise of offering up something not to throw up at the wall, but to throw up into a meaningful discussion that should the policymakers at LAFCO, the Water Authority, many of you as member agencies choose to help inform that discussion. Because as Priscilla mentioned, if the assumption is, well, the last 10 years or 15 years, the Water Authority's rates have gone up by X, it is certainly reasonable to assume that it will continue to go. And at what point does that tipping point make a governance off-ramp not a luxury, but a necessity? And so this is our opportunity to kind of get in front of that discussion productively. So thoughts or questions about the status of the report for Priscilla, Patrick, and then Adam's also been helping us with the document. And then interest in creating a committee specific to this. Everything and anything for discussion. So jump in. Gary's going for it.
Yeah. So is there a separate subcommittee of water agencies today?
There is a subcommittee of the general managers. And again, for the specific purpose in the Water Authority for the technical aspect of helping us collect the data in Dr. Hanneman's analysis. It was not policy oriented at all. It was technical. This would be a policy discussion.
Okay, so from the technical stand, who's doing the review of the technical studies that you have?
So the 11 agencies that are part of the subcommittee has taken a look at the technical draft reports that Dr. Hanneman and they have provided feedback. The County Water Authority as well as Met have received copies. So we're receiving direct feedback from the agencies as well as this working group.
And are they good with the technical studies?
So far, so good. Yes.
Okay. All right. So the intent of this group would simply be policy relying on the technical studies.
Yes.
I think there's merit in it, fraught with peril.
Sure. Sure. But that's why we all do the job, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Get into it. So we got one nomination or one volunteer.
He's a short timer.
No, that's
Before volunteering Wendy.
So interest and well, first, any questions? So Gary asked a question about the status. Any other status related questions, thoughts about the study itself in its kind of mid form as we speak?
I'm not volunteering. I just wanted to know, so who can you just go through really quickly the agencies on that committee? Yeah, it's the Otay Water District, City of San Diego County Water Authority, Helix Water District. I might have to get you the list after this because I'm going off the top of my head, or if you allow me a moment to look it up. Either way. Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
This is only relative to the use within San Diego region, not water delivered to south of the border or any other areas?
Correct. I'm ready.
So the city of Oceanside, city of San Diego, Helix Water District, Olivenheim Municipal Water District, Otay Water District, Padre Dam Municipal Water District, Ramona, the San Diego County Water Authority, Santa Fe Irrigation, Valley Center Municipal Water District, and Uema Municipal Water District.
So if there is an interest, I understand it's a different ball of wax on this topic. Fair enough. But we wanted to give the opportunity if there was interest. So seeing none, I will take that as we will come back another day and perhaps as early as I think we're next scheduled to meet maybe in March. At that point, probably offer up some firm draft a firm draft report, and or at that point, where will we be in March? Let me just ask that. March of 26.
Yeah, so hopefully by as early as March, we would apply to the commission. So between now and March, we would be doing the 60-day review and comment period that would be specific to the county water authority, and before we even make the draft public. And then once we receive their comments, we finalize the draft report with their comments in mind. Then we would proceed forward with making presentations to this committee, our Special Districts Advisory Committee, and then proceeding forward to our commission.
So Kate, I don't think the hesitation isn't because we don't want to do it, it's because a lot of us don't delve into water policy. A lot of the cities, water is delivered by special districts, and we don't really get into the technical mechanical details. And so I think the learning curve would be very high.
Mhm.
I don't know if any city around this room actually does water service. There are 2 in the entire, Del Mar does one, I know Poway does water, and Oceanside does water.
Yeah.
So that, it's not because we don't want to, it's just because really isn't in our wheelhouse
Yeah.
on water policy. And I can tell you from personal experience being on that subcommittee, it was a huge learning curve for me. And I think you needed somebody that was distanced from water policy to help with the detachment. But it's a really huge learning curve.
Indeed. Okay.
Maybe to that point, and since a couple of those cities are not represented here, maybe we can still move forward with recommending a subcommittee. So cities like Santee or others that are not here, and delegate to you and your staff to reach out to all the cities again when you're ready to engage more fully to see if there are any takers to that. So I would move to form a subcommittee, and that can be determined based on further correspondence via email.
Wonderful.
I second what Ashley said.
No, it was not.
Sorry.
Thank you. All right. So the motion, Solana Beach and second by Lemon Grove, to authorize the creation of a subcommittee specific to this item, the CWA Met MSR, with delegation to executive officer to appoint and facilitate those meetings from willing volunteers. So with that, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Thank you. It's a very good workaround. All right, let's get back to the top of the agenda. Any committee reports? Some of you have been reading in the newspaper, have a lot going on in your cities. This would be a great time with the cameras rolling to talk about it. You know, LAFCO could offer up some biting commentary, or if you just have any staffing changes or anything else that you'd like to share. This is a forced participation. I'll start with Lynette.
No, none.
None? John?
No, I thank you. I don't really have.
Okay, Lydia?
Although this doesn't relate to LAFCO, we completed our Connect Main Street project, which connects our Lemon Grove trolley station to our Massachusetts trolley station to make it multimodal, where before it wasn't. So we were excited about that. And we're still trying to figure out how to fill the council seat due to the early death of one of my council members.
Yes. Alyssa?
We've hired a new public works director, Aurelia DeBrawl. Fortunate to have her come over from the city of San Diego and previously with the county of San Diego. And she's taken over for our longtime director, Mo Samick, who retired earlier this year.
Good. Gary?
Well, I'm almost out of here. So Wendy Castman from currently Assistant City Manager in Poway will be taking on the city manager role in Santee effective October 23rd.
Thank you for your service too, Gary.
Thanks.
Imperial Beach also has a vacant council seat. Mitch McKay was appointed to the mayor's seat, which created a vacancy on our council. We had a meeting last night where they narrowed candidates, and hopefully in the near future, we will have an appointment.
Thank you. Jennifer.
Thank you. We had a deputy city manager vacancy and we have filled it. Mike James. He's actually currently the ACM over in Pismo Beach. Will be our DCM starting on October 13th, but he worked in Lemon Grove and El Cajon and City of San Diego, so we're excited. And sitting next to me now, she took our deputy city manager, Royce Howe, who is now the development services director. So we're new to, so she did take, but so we're really excited to have Mike come on board. So don't be surprised if you
Awesome.
see him in some of these meetings. So thank you.
Thank you.
City Manager Kat Doreen will be retiring on October 2nd. I will be stepping into the role on October 3rd.
Awesome.
And then we did still Roy. So we have a new Director of Development Services coming on as well. He's starting later this month. And we do have a new Director of Economic Development, David Graham, as well. So lots of activity happening there, but I do have a full council and no vacancies.
Yeah.
Lucky.
Knock on wood.
Yeah, so we are continuing with our 4-member council. We've had a vacancy now for a while and we'll sow into the next general election. So we're working through that. No major personnel changes in the city. Undergrounding right now is kind of in the forefront for us. And we, working with Sandag and the Low Stand team, we've got 4 transportation rail projects going on all in Del Mar at the same time. It's kind of unprecedented in our history, and so that's kind of taking up all the oxygen right now in the city.
Yeah. I didn't realize you had an empty council seat. When did that happen?
We had a sudden retirement of a long-standing member due to health reasons, and our council was unable to appoint a council member from amongst the community and didn't want to do a special election, and so
There it is.
that's where we are now.
Interesting. Well, thank you all for sharing that. So on our end, we have our own changes to report, at least on the commission side. Some of you I shared with this already. So last time we met in March of 25, virtually, I suppose, our meeting. No, I guess we would have met in September of last year. So we have some changes on the Board of Supervisors at LAFCO. So now we have Supervisor Aguirre and Supervisor Montgomery Stepp. Jim Desmond is no longer on LAFCO, and of course, Nora Vargas had left, and so we had an open seat for a while. And then our new public member is Bridget Browning. And other than that, for the first time, I think in a while, I think we should have some stability going forward, at least for the next few years. Most of our terms at LAFCO are 4 years, and I think we're all set up for some stability. So we're looking forward to that. So with that, let me check in. Anyone from the public here? I don't see anyone. Anyone online? So no open expression. So with that, I very much appreciate everyone showing up. It's 11:17, and I will adjourn this meeting to our next, which will be again confirmed shortly, but March of 26th. Thank you so much. And please take any bagels or coffee on your way out.